When I wanted to save the billionaire's dying daughter, he kicked me out. I'm a homeless man and I sleep on park benches every night. That morning, I woke up to the sound of a man crying and screaming in the hospital, saying his daughter was dying. I felt sorry for him and went over to help. He looked at me with disgust and told me to go away. He might have been afraid of a homeless man. He quickly left, and as he was leaving, I noticed something in the medical documents he dropped. I quickly looked through the documents and saw what the doctors had missed, and I knew that if I stayed silent, his daughter would die. What did I see in those documents? How could a homeless man know more than the doctors? Sit back and let me tell you how I saved a life and how it changed my life forever. My name is James Carter. I'm 48 years old, and I've been living on the streets for 8 years. I sleep on park benches in Central Park. I eat from soup kitchens and whatever food I can find. My clothes are torn and dirty. My beard is long and gray. People avoid me when they see me coming.
But I wasn't always this way. 8 years ago, I was Dr. James Carter. I was a cardiologist at Manhattan General Hospital. I had a successful practice and a good reputation. I saved lives every day. I was respected and valued. Then everything fell apart. I made a mistake during a complex surgery. A patient died on my table. The investigation found me negligent. My medical license was revoked. My career ended instantly. I fell into depression. I started drinking heavily. I lost my apartment because I couldn't pay rent without income. My savings disappeared quickly. I had no family to help me, no friends who stuck around after my fall from grace. So I ended up on the streets. The respected doctor became just another homeless man. Nobody recognized me. Nobody cared who I used to be. I was invisible now. But some things stay with you. Medical knowledge doesn't disappear just because you lose your license. I still remembered everything I learned, every diagnosis, every treatment, every symptom pattern. That knowledge lived in my brain unused and forgotten. Until that morning in the park, I was sleeping on my usual bench near the hospital. The location wasn't random. Some part of me still felt drawn to medical facilities, like a ghost haunting the place where I used to belong. The sun was just coming up. Early morning light filtered through the trees. The park was quiet except for a few joggers and dog walkers. I was still half asleep when I heard the crying, a man's voice. Loud and anguished, he was sobbing and yelling. The sound was raw with pain and desperation. It cut through the morning quiet like a knife. I opened my eyes. About 30 feet away, a man sat on another bench. He was well dressed in an expensive suit. His head was in his hands. He was crying like his world was ending. "Please, God," he sobbed. "Please don't take her from me. She's only 12 years old. Please." His pain was overwhelming. It radiated from him in waves. Other people in the park noticed him. They looked uncomfortable and walked away faster. Nobody wanted to get involved. But I couldn't ignore it. Maybe because I used to help people. Maybe because I understood suffering. I stood up and walked over to him slowly. "Sir," I said gently, "are you okay?" He looked up. His face was red and wet with tears. His eyes were bloodshot. When he saw me, his expression changed from grief to disgust. I knew what he saw. A dirty homeless man with torn clothes and a wild beard. Someone to be afraid of. Someone to avoid. "Get away from me," he said harshly. "I just want to help," I said. "I don't need help from someone like you," he snapped. He stood up quickly. Papers fell from his lap onto the ground. He didn't notice. He walked away fast, almost running. He wanted to get away from the homeless man as quickly as possible. I watched him disappear down the path toward the street. I looked at the papers scattered on the ground. Medical documents, hospital letterhead, test results. I recognized them immediately. My old instincts kicked in automatically. I picked them up. I shouldn't have. They weren't mine. But something made me look. Maybe curiosity. Maybe the doctor in me that never really died. But what I saw in those papers would haunt me if I stayed silent. The top page was a patient summary. Emma Hunt, age 12. Admitted to City General Hospital. Diagnosis, acute dilated cardiomyopathy, critical condition. I flipped through the other pages. Test results, blood work, echocardiogram reports, treatment plan. The handwriting was doctor's notes. Multiple specialists had reviewed the case. I read everything carefully. My medical training came back instantly, like riding a bicycle. The knowledge was still there waiting to be used. The diagnosis was cardiomyopathy. The heart muscle was enlarged and weak, not pumping blood effectively. It was life-threatening, especially in a child. The treatment plan was standard: beta blockers to reduce heart strain, ACE inhibitors to lower blood pressure, diuretics to reduce fluid buildup, rest and monitoring. Maybe a transplant list if she didn't improve. Everything looked correct. The doctors had followed proper protocols. The treatment was appropriate for cardiomyopathy. But something bothered me. Something didn't fit. I read the symptom list again, more carefully. Fatigue, shortness of breath, irregular heartbeat, swelling in extremities, all consistent with heart failure. But there were other symptoms too. Symptoms that didn't quite match the diagnosis: tremors in the hands, slight jaundice in the skin tone, behavioral changes including irritability and difficulty concentrating. Those symptoms pointed to something else, something the doctors might have missed because they were focused on the heart. I thought hard. What causes heart problems plus neurological symptoms plus liver involvement? What disease affects multiple systems like that? Then it hit me. Wilson's disease. Wilson's disease is a genetic disorder where copper builds up in the body. It accumulates in the liver first, then spreads to other organs including the brain and heart. The excess copper causes damage everywhere. The symptoms can look like heart disease, or liver disease, or neurological problems. It's easy to misdiagnose because it mimics other conditions. Many doctors miss it entirely. I looked at the test results again. Had they checked copper levels? I scanned through the blood work. Complete blood count, liver enzymes, kidney function, cardiac markers, no copper testing, no ceruloplasmin levels, no 24-hour urine copper, none of the specific tests for Wilson's disease. My heart started racing. If this was Wilson's disease, the current treatment would not work. Beta blockers and ACE inhibitors wouldn't address the underlying cause. The copper buildup would continue. The girl would get worse. Wilson's disease needs chelation therapy, medications that bind to copper and remove it from the body, penicillamine or trientine. Without proper treatment, the disease is fatal. I looked at the pages spread in my hands. This little girl was dying. The doctors thought they knew what was wrong, but they had missed something critical. If nobody caught the mistake, she would die. Those who understand the weight of medical knowledge know how heavy that burden becomes. I had to tell someone. I had to get this information to her doctors. But who would listen to a homeless man? Who would believe me? I folded the papers carefully. I knew the father's name now. Alexander Hunt. I knew which hospital. City General. I knew his daughter was in critical condition there right now. I had to find him. I had to make him listen. His daughter's life depended on it. I started walking toward the hospital. City General was about 15 blocks away. I walked fast. My torn shoes hurt my feet, but I ignored the pain. This was more important. The morning streets were getting busier. People rushed to work. Cars honked in traffic. The city woke up around me. I moved through it like a ghost, invisible as always. I reached City General Hospital around 7:30. The building was massive and modern, glass and steel rising into the sky. Ambulances lined up at the emergency entrance. People in scrubs and white coats moved purposefully through the lobby. I hadn't been inside a hospital in 8 years, not since I lost my license. Standing at the entrance brought back memories, some good, many painful. I pushed through the front doors. The lobby was busy with staff and visitors. Everyone had somewhere to be. Nobody looked at me except to move away slightly. I approached the information desk. A middle-aged woman sat there typing on a computer. She looked up when I got close. Her nose wrinkled slightly at my smell. "I need to speak with Alexander Hunt," I said. "His daughter Emma is a patient here." The woman looked at me, suspiciously. "Are you family?" she asked. "No, but I have important information about his daughter's condition," I said. "Patient information is confidential," she said coldly. "I can't help you." "Please," I said. "This is urgent. His daughter's life is at risk." "Sir, you need to leave," she said firmly. She pressed a button under her desk. 2 security guards appeared within seconds. They were big men in uniforms. They looked at me like I was a problem to be removed. "This gentleman needs to exit the building," the woman said. "Wait," I said. "I'm trying to help a patient. I have medical information the doctors need to see. Sure you do, one guard said. He grabbed my arm. Let's go, buddy. They walked me toward the door. I tried to explain, but they weren't listening. To them, I was just a homeless man causing trouble. They had seen it before. Mentally ill people who wander into hospitals. They needed to remove me quickly and efficiently. They pushed me outside. The doors closed behind me. I stood on the sidewalk feeling helpless and frustrated. Little did I know he was about to make the biggest mistake of his life. I couldn't give up. That little girl was dying. I was probably the only person who understood what was really wrong with her. I had to find another way. I walked around to the side of the hospital. There was a staff entrance where doctors and nurses came and went. I watched for a while. People in scrubs and white coats swiped ID badges and entered. I waited until the entrance was busy, multiple people arriving at once. I slipped in behind a group of nurses. Nobody stopped me. Everyone was focused on their own business. Inside, I found myself in a corridor. Signs pointed to different departments: cardiology, pediatrics, ICU. I needed to find Emma Hunt. She would be in intensive care given her condition. I followed signs to the ICU, took an elevator up 3 floors, walked down sterile hallways. My heart pounded. I was trespassing. If security caught me, I would be arrested. The ICU had a waiting area. Families sat in uncomfortable chairs looking worried and tired. I scanned the room looking for Alexander Hunt. He wasn't there. I approached the ICU entrance, double doors with a card reader, a nurse's station visible through the glass. I couldn't go further without attracting attention. A nurse came out of the ICU. She was young with kind eyes. She held a clipboard and looked stressed. "Excuse me," I said quietly. "I'm looking for Alexander Hunt. His daughter Emma is a patient here." The nurse looked at me. She took in my appearance, homeless and disheveled. Her expression became guarded. "I'm sorry," she said. "I can't give out patient information." "Please," I said. "I have information about Emma's diagnosis. The doctors might have missed something important." "Sir, you need to leave this floor," she said. Her hand moved toward a phone on the wall. "Her symptoms include tremors and jaundice," I said quickly. "Has anyone tested her? Copper levels? It could be Wilson's disease." The nurse paused. Her hand stopped moving toward the phone. She looked at me differently now, with curiosity instead of fear. "Who are you?" she asked. "I used to be a doctor," I said. "I saw her medical files. The diagnosis might be wrong." "You used to be a doctor?" she repeated skeptically. "Yes," I said. 8 years ago. I know what I'm talking about. Please just check if they tested for Wilson's disease." She studied me for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. "Wait here," she said. She went back through the ICU doors. I stood there hoping she would help, hoping someone would listen. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Other people in the waiting area stared at me. I looked out of place, homeless and desperate. They probably thought I was mentally ill. The nurse came back. She looked concerned now. "We haven't tested for Wilson's disease," she said quietly. "But how do you know about this patient?" "Her father dropped her medical records in the park," I explained. "I read them. I recognized the symptom pattern." "I need to report this to the attending physician," she said. "But sir, you really need to leave before security finds you." "Will they test her?" I asked urgently. "I'll make sure the doctor knows," she promised, "but you have to go now." I nodded. I had done what I could. The information was in the system now. Maybe someone would take it seriously. I turned to leave. That's when I saw him. Alexander Hunt stepping off the elevator. His eyes were red from crying. His expensive suit was wrinkled. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Our eyes met. Recognition flashed across his face. The homeless man from the park. The one he told to get away from him. His expression changed to anger. "What are you doing here?" he demanded. "Are you following me?" "Mr. Hunt," I said quickly, "your daughter has Wilson's disease. The doctors are treating the wrong condition. She needs copper chelation therapy." "Security!" Alexander shouted. "Security!" 2 guards came running from down the hall, the same ones who removed me from the lobby earlier. "This man is harassing me," Alexander said. "Get him out of here." "Wait," I said desperately. "Your daughter will die if they don't change her treatment. Please, just listen." "You're insane," Alexander said. "Stay away from my family." The guards grabbed my arms. They pulled me toward the stairs. I struggled to keep talking. "Wilson's disease," I shouted. "Test her copper levels. Check her eyes for Kaiser-Fleischer rings." They dragged me down the stairs. My feet barely touched the ground. They moved fast and efficiently. This time they didn't just push me outside. They walked me 2 blocks away and threatened to call the police if I came back. I stood on the sidewalk watching the hospital in the distance. I had tried everything. Nobody would listen. A homeless man had no credibility, no voice, no power to help, even when he had knowledge that could save a life. But I couldn't give up on that little girl. I spent that night under the same bridge where I usually slept, but I couldn't stop thinking about Emma Hunt, a 12-year-old girl dying because the doctors missed the diagnosis. I was the only person who saw the truth, but nobody would believe a homeless man. The next morning, I went back to the hospital. I knew security would remove me again if they saw me. I needed a different approach. I needed to reach the doctors directly without going through Alexander Hunt. I waited outside the staff entrance. Doctors and nurses came and went throughout the morning. I watched them carefully, looking for someone who might listen, someone who looked kind or approachable. Around noon, a young doctor came out. She was maybe 30 years old, with dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. She wore scrubs and a white coat with a name tag. Dr. Sarah Martinez. She was fumbling with her phone and a coffee cup. She looked tired, like she had been working a long shift. I approached her carefully. "Dr. Martinez," I said, "can I talk to you for just 1 minute?" She looked up, startled. She saw my appearance and immediately became wary. Her hand tightened on her phone, ready to call for help if needed. "I'm sorry," she said. "I can't give you money." "I don't want money," I said quickly. "I need to talk to you about a patient, Emma Hunt, in the ICU." Her expression changed, confusion mixed with concern. "How do you know about that patient?" she asked. "I used to be a doctor," I said. "I saw her medical records. I think the diagnosis is wrong." Dr. Martinez stared at me. She was clearly skeptical but also curious. Something in my words made her pause instead of walking away. "You used to be a doctor?" she repeated. "Yes," I said. 8 years ago. I was a cardiologist. I lost my license, but I still remember everything I learned." "And you think you know something about Emma Hunt that her medical team doesn't know?" she asked. Her tone was doubtful, but not dismissive. "The symptoms don't match pure cardiomyopathy," I explained quickly. "She has tremors, jaundice, behavioral changes. Those point to Wilson's disease, copper accumulation. If you don't test for it and start chelation therapy, she'll die." Dr. Martinez was quiet for a moment. She studied my face, looking for signs of delusion or mental illness. I held her gaze steadily. I knew what I was talking about, and I needed her to see that. "Wilson's disease," she said slowly. "That's rare. Very rare." "But not impossible," I said. "And it fits the symptom profile better than idiopathic cardiomyopathy. Have they tested her copper levels?" "I don't know," Dr. Martinez admitted. "I'm a resident. I'm not on her case directly, but I've seen her in the ICU." "Can you check?" I asked. "Can you look at her chart and see if anyone tested for Wilson's disease?" She hesitated. I could see her weighing the decision. Listening to a homeless man's medical advice seemed crazy, but something in my explanation had sparked her medical curiosity. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. "Why do you care about this patient?" "Because I'm still a doctor in my heart," I said. "I may have lost my license, but I didn't lose my knowledge or my oath to help people. This girl is dying, and I can't just walk away. Those who have lost their purpose but found it again understand what it means to hold on to who you used to be." Dr. Martinez made a decision. She nodded slowly. "Wait here," she said. "Don't leave. I'll check her chart." She went back inside the hospital. I waited by the staff entrance for 20 minutes. Other people came and went. Some looked at me strangely. A homeless man loitering by the staff door. But nobody bothered me. Dr. Martinez came back. Her expression was different now, more serious, more concerned. "You're right," she said quietly. "They never tested for Wilson's disease. Everyone assumed it was cardiomyopathy, but I looked at her full symptom list, and you're right. There are neurological signs that don't fit." "Then you need to test her immediately," I said urgently. "Serum copper levels, ceruloplasmin, 24-hour urine copper, and do a slit lamp eye exam looking for Kaiser-Fleischer rings." Dr. Martinez was taking notes on her phone. "How do you know all this?" she asked. I specialized in cardiac cases, I explained. I saw 2 Wilson's disease patients during my residency. Both presented initially with heart symptoms. It's easy to miss if you're not looking for it. If you're right, this changes everything, she said. The treatment would be completely different. She needs chelation therapy, I said. Penicillamine or trientine. The sooner you start, the better her chances. Dr. Martinez looked at me with new respect. She saw past the homeless exterior to the doctor underneath. She saw that my knowledge was real and valuable. I'm going to talk to her attending physician, she said. I'll recommend they order these tests immediately. Thank you, I said. Relief flooded through me. Finally, someone was listening. Finally, the information would reach the right people. What's your name? She asked. James Carter, I said. Dr. James Carter. I was at Manhattan General before. She nodded and went back inside. I stood there, feeling lighter than I had in days. I had done everything I could. The rest was up to the doctors now. But what she discovered next would save Emma's life. I didn't go back to the hospital for 3 days. I was afraid security would recognize me and call the police. I had done my part. I had to trust that Dr. Martinez had followed through. But those 3 days were torture. I kept thinking about Emma Hunt lying in that hospital bed getting worse. What if they didn't listen? What if they thought Dr. Martinez was crazy for taking medical advice from a homeless man? On the 4th day, I couldn't stand it anymore. I had to know if Emma was okay. I went back to City General and positioned myself across the street where I could watch the entrance. I saw Dr. Martinez leaving around 6 in the evening. She looked exhausted, but not defeated. That was a good sign. I crossed the street and called out to her. Dr. Martinez, I said. She turned and saw me. Her face broke into a tired smile. Dr. Carter, she said. I was hoping I'd see you again. What happened? I asked urgently. Did they test her? They did, she said. You were right about everything. Her serum copper was extremely elevated. Ceruloplasmin was low. The eye exam showed Kayser-Fleischer rings, definitive Wilson's disease. I felt tears forming. I had been right. But more importantly, Emma would get the correct treatment now. They started chelation therapy immediately, Dr. Martinez continued. Within 48 hours, she started improving. The cardiac symptoms are resolving. Her neurological symptoms are getting better. She's going to survive. I couldn't speak. The relief was overwhelming. I had saved her life. My knowledge had mattered. My medical training had helped someone, even though I was no longer officially a doctor. The attending physician wants to know how you figured it out, Dr. Martinez said. 20 specialists looked at her case and missed it, but you saw it in medical records you found in a park. Experience and pattern recognition, I managed to say, and maybe luck. Mr. Hunt has been asking about you too, she said. My chest tightened. Alexander Hunt, the man who told me to get away from him, who called security to remove me, who wouldn't listen when I tried to help his daughter. What does he want? I asked. To thank you, Dr. Martinez said, and probably to apologize. When he found out a homeless man diagnosed his daughter correctly, he was shocked. The truth was about to shock everyone involved in this case. Dr. Martinez arranged a meeting. She talked to hospital administration. She explained what happened and convinced them to allow me back in the building. Alexander Hunt wanted to meet me, and they couldn't refuse, given that I had saved his daughter's life. 2 days later, I stood in a private conference room at City General Hospital. I had washed my face and hands in a public restroom. I tried to make myself as presentable as possible, but I was still obviously homeless. The door opened and Alexander Hunt walked in. He looked different from the last time I saw him. Less desperate, less broken. But when he saw me, his expression filled with complicated emotions. Shame, gratitude, confusion. He stood there for a moment, just staring at me. Then he spoke quietly. You saved my daughter's life, he said. The doctors saved her life, I said. I just pointed them in the right direction. They would have missed it without you, Alexander said. He sat down heavily in a chair. Emma would have died, and I would have never known the real diagnosis. He looked up at me with tears in his eyes. I treated you horribly, he said. I told you to get away from me. I had security remove you. I called you insane. And all the while you were trying to save my little girl. You didn't know, I said. That's not an excuse, Alexander said firmly. I judged you based on your appearance. I assumed you had nothing valuable to offer because you're homeless. I was wrong and I'm deeply ashamed." He stood up and extended his hand. "I'm sorry, Dr. Carter," he said. "I'm so very sorry." I shook his hand. His grip was firm and genuine. The apology in his eyes was real. "I forgive you," I said simply. Alexander sat down again and gestured for me to sit, too. We faced each other across the conference table. "The doctors told me you used to be a cardiologist," he said. "What happened? How did you end up on the streets?" I'd avoided talking about my past for 8 years. The pain was too raw, the shame too deep, but something about this moment made me want to share it. "I made a mistake during surgery," I said quietly. "A patient died because of my error. I lost my license. I lost everything. I couldn't handle it. I fell apart." "I'm sorry," Alexander said. "It was 8 years ago," I said. "I've been homeless ever since. I thought my medical knowledge was useless, that I would never help anyone again. Then I found your daughter's medical records." "You could have ignored them," Alexander said. "You could have walked away. Why didn't you?" "Because I'm still a doctor," I said. "Even without a license, even living on the streets. When I see someone who needs help, I can't turn away. It's who I am." Looking back now, I realize that moment defined everything that came after. Alexander was quiet for a long time. He seemed to be thinking hard about something. Finally, he spoke. "I want to help you," he said. "The way you helped Emma. I want to give you a second chance." "I don't need charity," I said automatically. "It's not charity," Alexander said. "It's gratitude, and maybe justice. You deserve better than living on the streets." He pulled out his phone and made some notes. "First, we'll get you housing," he said. "An apartment. Nothing fancy but clean and safe. Second, we'll get you medical care, dental work, treatment for whatever health issues you have from years on the streets." "That's too much," I said. "Third," Alexander continued, ignoring my protest, "we'll work on getting your medical license reinstated. I have lawyers, good ones. If there's any way to appeal or petition, we'll find it." I stared at him. This couldn't be real. People didn't get second chances like this, not people like me who had fallen so far. "Why would you do all that?" I asked. "Because you saved my daughter's life," Alexander said simply. "Because you deserve a chance to be Dr. Carter again. Because it's the right thing to do." He leaned forward. "You have knowledge and skills that can help people," he said. "The world needs doctors like you, doctors who see what others miss, doctors who care enough to help even when nobody believes them." Tears ran down my face. I couldn't stop. Them. 8 years of pain and loss and hopelessness came pouring out. Someone finally saw me, not the homeless man, but the doctor underneath. "Thank you," I whispered. "No," Alexander said gently. "Thank you." The next few months transformed my life completely. Alexander kept every promise he made. He rented me a 1-bedroom apartment in a decent neighborhood. He arranged medical care, and I got treatment for various health problems from years of street living. His lawyers worked on my license. They filed petitions and appeals. They argued that 8 years was enough punishment for one mistake. They showed that I still had valuable medical knowledge. They presented my correct diagnosis of Emma as evidence. 6 months after our meeting in that conference room, I got the news. My medical license was reinstated. I was officially Dr. James Carter again. I cried when I got the letter. Then I called Alexander to tell him. He was as happy as I was. He insisted on taking me to dinner to celebrate. 2 weeks later, Alexander arranged something special. He brought me to the hospital to meet Emma. She was fully recovered now. The chelation therapy had removed the excess copper. Her heart was healing. Her neurological symptoms were gone. She was a beautiful girl with her father's dark eyes and a bright smile. When we walked into her room, she was reading a book. She looked up and saw us. "Emma," Alexander said gently, "this is Dr. Carter. He's the man who figured out what was wrong with you." Emma put down her book and looked at me carefully. She was studying my face with serious eyes. "You saved my life," she said. "The doctor saved your life," I said. "I just helped them see what they missed." "Daddy told me everything," Emma said. "He told me you were homeless and everyone thought you were crazy, but you were right and they were wrong." She got out of bed and walked over to me. Then she hugged me tightly. I stood there frozen for a moment, then I hugged her back. This little girl who almost died, who I saved with knowledge I thought was useless. "Thank you," she whispered. Both Emma and I were crying. Alexander was crying too. Dr. Martinez, who had come to witness the reunion, was wiping tears from her eyes. This moment made everything worth it. 8 years of suffering. 8 years of being invisible and dismissed and judged. All of it led to this moment where I saved a little girl's life and got my own life back. Those who have experienced redemption understand that the journey through darkness makes the light so much brighter. Alexander offered me a position at his company. He ran a medical technology firm that developed diagnostic equipment. He wanted me to consult on cardiac devices, to use my knowledge to improve medical care. I accepted. I worked for Alexander's company while also volunteering at free clinics for homeless people. I understood what they were going through. I could help them in ways other doctors couldn't. Dr. Martinez and I became friends. She finished her residency and became an attending physician. We sometimes consulted on difficult cases together. She never forgot that I taught her to look beyond the obvious diagnosis. Emma fully recovered. She grew up healthy and strong. She visited me sometimes. She said I inspired her to become a doctor. She wanted to help people the way I helped her. This story reminds us that everyone has value regardless of their circumstances. The homeless person you pass on the street might have knowledge that could save your life. They might be a former doctor or teacher or engineer who fell on hard times. We judge people by appearance, but appearance tells us nothing about their knowledge or their worth or their past. Everyone deserves respect and dignity. Everyone deserves to be heard. Alexander Hunt learned that lesson in the hardest way possible. He almost lost his daughter because he refused to listen to a homeless man. His prejudice nearly cost him everything he loved. But he also learned about redemption, about giving second chances, about seeing past the surface to the person underneath. He gave me back my life, and I gave him back his daughter. I learned that knowledge never disappears. Medical training doesn't vanish just because you lose your license. Skills remain, even when circumstances destroy everything else. I was always Dr. Carter, even when I was living under a bridge, and I learned that helping others is still possible no matter how low you fall. Even homeless and dismissed, I could still save lives. My value didn't depend on my address or my clothes or my bank account. It depended on who I was inside. What lesson did you gain from this story? Have you ever judged someone unfairly based on their appearance? Have you ever been dismissed when you had something valuable to offer? Remember that every person has a story. Every homeless person was someone before they fell. They had careers and families and dreams. One mistake or one tragedy can take everything away. Offer kindness, offer respect. Listen when people speak, even if they look like they have nothing to offer. You never know when the homeless person might be the one who saves your life or the life of someone you love. Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.